on July 20th, Freddie Mac forecasted an overall national market slowdown due to higher interest rates, higher home prices, although house appreciation is slowing. And then we also have inflation affecting the cost of essentials such as food, energy, and rent that I know all of us are experiencing. I mean, the cost of stuff at H-E-B is going up. Our energy bill was higher. Gas prices, of course, they were going up. They were up over $4 a gallon, but now they're back down below $4, which is, it's interesting that we would say that now. It's, oh my God, thank God it's less than $4 a gallon. Right, it's like the new normal.
I knew that was going to happen.
Yeah, right. So Freddie Mac also reporting that existing home sales have declined for the 5th straight month. And Freddie Mac is reporting that as of June, unsold existing homes have now risen to 1.26 million, which is about 3 months worth of inventory. And finally, Freddie Mac's evaluation of public confidence in the housing market shows that market confidence is now at its lowest point since the onset of the pandemic. So, Gasper, that was a big lead in. But so, with respect to here in San Antonio, what are you seeing out there in the field?
Well, you have to remember what they're forecasting, is just based on all the averages nationwide. So you got to see things a little bit differently from the local side.
Always.
It's always going to be a little bit different everywhere you go.
Mm-hmm.
And that's always been the case. Markets fluctuate from not just region to region, but from state to state. And it may even be from just neighborhood to neighborhood. It can be that divisive.
It's true, yeah.
Yeah. So what we're hoping for, like I've talked about in the last show, that we did, was a slow, steady decline, so that we don't come crashing down, because then everyone loses their home values simultaneously, and that gets really sticky. But if it comes down slowly, like I talked about before, we should be doing okay. And I think there's some things that are in San Antonio itself that are going to lead into helping that occur, because historically, if you look at recessions and how San Antonio's housing market has fared, it's always done very well, considerably to the rest of the country. So when we're seeing problems like we saw in, say in Detroit back in the last recession, back in 08, 09, Arizona, Phoenix, these places just crumbled immediately. San Antonio didn't do that. We had the opportunity to do that, but we didn't do that because we maintained a fairly slow decline back into a good correction.
Any idea why?
I think it was because we maintained a median average home price that was still in line with the normal wage earner. I believe that was the main factor.
Affordability.
It was affordability. What we're seeing that we've gotten away from that a little bit, so it may be a little more drastic. But again, historically, I'm kind of relying on some of the things that we've seen out there already, with the prices coming down slowly.
So we had a pretty good spike, like was it a 20% or something like that? I don't know the exact numbers, but it was a pretty big spike, I think, last year. And then, of course, all the homeowners are being called in for their appraisal values and freaking out over that kind of stuff. So, but that was very unusual for around here.
Yes, and back in March, the city government did kind of like a little bit of a Band-Aid, and they put 5% extra on everyone's homestead exemptions, which was just kind of a knee-jerk reaction because they were getting so many calls, they were getting so many complaints, and they felt like they had to do something. And then it took them about approximately 3 months to figure out the math and see if they would still make money. And then just this past July or earlier this month or late last month, they finally came up with, oh yeah, we can afford to do 20%. So now the home exemption is going to move to 20%. Okay.
Now, explain that real quick. So home exemption, what do you mean by that?
Okay, so for example, if you own a home, and let's just say that it's $300,000, and they're going to exempt you 20%, then that would be $60,000. So that they're not going to tax you at $300,000. They're going to tax you at $240,000.
Excellent.
So it roughly comes out to about $60 a month, I think, is what it's going to accommodate. But that is still a good benefit, and you want to look at it from the perspective of this makes affordability still an option for a lot of people. And of course, you see it's done by the politicians, so you see the finger pointing and the blame game going on, and nothing really of any substance truly happens. But at least you see some movement in a positive direction of some sort.
Would you characterize the homestead exemption as a Band-Aid?
It is a Band-Aid. Again, I think that the main source needs to come from property taxes in legislation. We really need to get a hold of this. But you see, Democrats will blame Republicans. Republicans will blame the unions. And the unions then turn back around and just start pointing fingers at everybody else. So, well, what about your kids? They do this type of thing. I'm talking about the teachers' unions because the majority of that money is going to public school. Okay, that's really where its main lion's share is going.
Right.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens with it, but those changes do have to be made before we can see any real results in property taxes.
Okay, and when it comes to, do you think it's a buyer's market right now or a seller's market or somewhere in between?
It's still a seller's market, and it's very unique because even though the Fed has raised the interest rate, which is designed to slow down the buyers, the prices continue to increase. Okay, and now they're not at the same rate they were increasing, 12 months ago, but they are still going up. They're going up slowly now, and that's the difference. And again, I've even had this conversation with several of my agents that we are in disagreement. They do not see the correction, and I'm saying, well, it's nature. What goes up has to come down. It's just regardless, it's going to do it. The Fed is saying this is going to go on for the next 6-7 years, that prices will continue to go up.
Okay.
I am not sure how that happens, but if it is, there's still got to be a breaking point somewhere. Either median wages need to be exacerbated and moved up to the point where they're just astonishing, where people are making $25 an hour somewhere just to get back to basically feeling like the way we were. Or these prices do need to stop somewhere and eventually start to cascade back down. There's got to be some give to it. I don't understand how that occurs, but I guess we're going to find out sooner or later. We all will.
Yeah. So with respect to inventory here in the San Antonio area, how are we doing there?
We're still at about a month and a half, creeping up on 2 months. I watch it weekly, and you'll see the numbers just by 1/100th of a point start to move itself up. Time is taking longer to actually get something off the market, but at the same time, it's still a very good seller's market at this point.
What do you think is a healthy inventory in the San Antonio area?
I've always said what I see as a healthy inventory is anything between 3.5 to 5.5 months.
Okay, so we're still fast.
Yeah, we're still very fast, but not as fast as we were before. But you're going to see this probably linger on for quite a while, and that again kind of goes back to the demand process and the lack of builds and different things like that, which are picking up. There's supply chain issues that are still starting to kind of sort themselves out. I even have a project of my own that for the last 4 weeks, the guys still can't find all the supplies we need to get our stuff done. So it's just the way it is right now.
Yeah, the supply chain has definitely got some problems. All right, Gasper, if people want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
www.sanantoniusfinestrealty.com, or they can contact me at 210-332-0161.
Thank you, Gasper. We appreciate that. Always a pleasure to have a chat